I agree with you on the general principles that it's important for any father to leave a legacy or legacies for his children. I also agree with you that perhaps the most valuable resource is land. I am an Ikwere man, and for us, land is everything because by nature, we are basically hunters and farmers. I have to say, too, as a preliminary, that it was my father, my late father, who taught me the value of land. While we were still young children, he started investing in land. He built his first house with a loan of £1,000 from the Nigerian Building Society in the year 1960, when he was still a deputy superintendent of police. The plots at the place called Oloibiri Street in Marwan area, the Ventis Park area. They built a 20-room house just for investment because we were living in Enugu at the time. He was just a rising police officer. After we came back, following the end of the Nigerian Civil War, to live in Port Harcourt, in our home. My home is actually Rumokoro, and you see all that land comprising the Nigerian Air Force Base, the army camp called the Port Harcourt Barracks. We are mostly acquired from the communities in my area, including my own village, Lokapolos. Indeed, my great-grandfather was a great farmer, Wokocha Wohoti. It is from his first name that our family surname was derived, Wokocha. At some point, one Igbo headmaster removed the W and said, "What is Wokocha?" It's Okocha. And we started answering Okocha. And half of my village is now Okocha. In my area, it's dangerous to acquire land without developing it. The Ikwere man, knowing the appetites that the Moredas have, those who like to buy land and invest, began to see the need to also put value on their own land. So my father did acquire some land, including government plots, built some houses. And when I came back in 1980, after my master's degree in London, he gave me a flat in one of his buildings. And I lived there as a bachelor until I got married. While I was still preparing to marry, I built my own house, a small bungalow. And my custom too, a man who does not have a house is not seen as a serious man. You can't marry and go and live in one room in your father's house. You marry and you live in your own house with your wife and raise your family in your own house. So I too started acquiring land because I knew the value of it. Money in the bank is invariably going to be made slightly worth less than it was when you put the money there, because inflation catches up with money. But land actually appreciates in value. So I did start to acquire my own plots. My ambition was to own an office block on Aba Road. I didn't like where I worked in first. So the first office I rented was in fact an office building at number 28 Aba Road, Afri Shore House. I give my father credit for that. Today, I have been able to acquire a few other properties and build them up. There are some that are not built up yet. And sometimes, if you have more than you need, you can even sell at a higher value, at the value which you saw it when you acquired it. Now, one thing should be clear to all of us. Every man should work, indeed every woman should work for their own success. Nobody should come out in life hoping to get an inheritance from his father or his mother. There's a misconception there because some children grow up believing that the wealth has been made. But you never know. A man can actually die before his father. So if you are looking to inherit from your father, you may have nothing. And I give you an example. My family is a large landowning family, as I said. At the time when we came to live in the village, my grandfather was the head of the family, and in Ikwere custom, the head of the family holds the land belonging to the whole family in trust for the benefit of every member of the family. It used to be every male member, but with recent developments in the law, every member, including women, up to the Supreme Court, some people fought. Mojeku and Mojeku is the case. There are two others. Fought a principle that in some customs they don't give women land. They now reverse that, and every woman, just as every man, is entitled to inherit from his father. But the point I was making is, don't look to earn an inheritance, gain an inheritance from your father. If my father was waiting for his father to die before he would have land, my father may not have had land. Don't look to inherit, because that will breed some attitude of laziness and complacency on your part. I got my first plot, my father was alive. I built a bus quarters on it. When I got married and my wife said she would do a nursery school, that's where she started her nursery school. Today, she and my son have joined together and developed a high-rise building on the plots. On one of the floors, my first son's wife is running a hairdressing salon, a beauty salon, and a barber shop. Land is very important, and acquire it as soon as possible. We also have a good friend, a very serious friend of ours. He just turned 83 years old, and you may have heard of him. He's a popular man about town. Chief Francis Bruce. We call him FB. When we came back as young men, hanging around with him, attending parties in his house, he told us, look, if you make 100 naira, take 50 naira and buy blocks. Buy cement if you can't buy blocks, and start molding blocks. You only become a man when you have built your own house. And we took his advice. And by the time you know it, those my friends and I who were associating with him, we were acquiring plots here and there. Some built. I was able to build my first house. And then I built a few more. My children have also built their own houses, because immediately I had the opportunity, I also advised them to acquire plots. In fact, where they are living now, where they build their own houses, there's some plots that I help them to acquire in the village. Because when they are sharing land, if you're an adult and you pay the family meeting dues, you're entitled to get 1 or 2 or 3 plots. I also convinced my grandfather, as I told you, was the head of the family, to share plots. Because all the young men in the village were saying, my father's children had become very rich because we built houses. And that was because my grandfather said he's not giving land to anybody until they are seen blocks that you have molded. And I said, no, give them. They can sell 1 plot and use that money to build. But you know what happens to young people? They sell the plots, they go and buy one Belgium Toyota Land Cruiser. In less than 6 months, the car is jacked up because they have no money to take it. But it's important for every person, man and woman inclusive, to acquire property, landed property. There is what we call the Married Women's Properties Act. In the olden days, even in England, whatever property a woman acquired, they would say would belong to her husband. But no, at some point, the Parliament in England passed a law called the Married Women's Property Act, which we received as received English law from United Kingdom, that is England and Wales, because it was a statute of general application. The women are also entitled to own their own property. As much as possible, acquire your own personal property. Gives you that freedom of, choice, that independence of mind, to know that you are not going to be a tenant for life. The other day I was reading the book of Proverbs, and they said there that a righteous man will leave property for himself and his children and grandchildren. This is what I've practiced. This is what I've advised my children to practice, and also encourage their own children to believe the most valuable resource we have is land. And for every Nigerian, land is a priceless, asset that will always keep you in what we call self-sufficiency and independence, financial independence. Thank you.